Good morning. It is cold here in New York City. Therefore, I'm wearing a hoodie. I hope wherever you are, you're, keeping warm, staying inside with loved ones. I'm also wearing a hoodie because today I feel like talking about race. All right, Martin Luther King Day is right around the corner, and it just seems like something that isn't discussed enough when it affects so much in our society here in the United States. All right, so first of all, just the construct. I would assume everyone knows this to be true, but it's important to state race is a human-made social construct which doesn't actually exist. All right, there's only one race, it's the human race. Different hues, what am I? Am I a cream or a caramel? Someone else is yellow, there's black, there's, green and white and all types of shades in between. It means absolutely nothing. And the only reason it's been developed is for certain people in power to maintain said position and keep others in a position of subservience. And I think it's incumbent on us to change that, right? And when I look at the landscape, right, there are certain people who really believe a person that has a certain skin tone is superior, right? But those people represent such a small percentage of the population that it's irrelevant. There's almost no point in talking about them. So rather, I want to focus on two groups of people. So there are the vast majority of people in the United States who are Caucasian, who benefit from the structures that establish benefits for people who are of their hue, right? And this actually makes me think of a person named Stephen Biko that many of you may have heard of. I spent 3 months in South Africa in 2006, and I read one of Biko's books called Frank Talk. He wrote this when he was in his early 20s. But one of the things that resonated with me is when he mentioned, what he framed as the progressive liberals, right? Many of my friends, people that I care about dearly, who I think really do care, but when they're making their decisions, they're not necessarily seeing themselves in me and in people who look like me in terms of the issues that I deal with every day, right? So they're not thinking about the fact that there's a whole set of people in our society who are sidelined with respect to education. They're getting the worst. They're not concerned about the job market, that same set of people, instead of being provided with opportunities for work, they're provided opportunities for prison cells and the morgue, right? They're not concerned about the fact that when your kids are sent to school, right? When my kids are sent to school, they may not come home, right? Seeking assistance and help from the police isn't necessarily going to yield the kind of outcome that it should in a reasonable society. And I believe that if the majority of people really saw themselves in the other, then there's no way that we'd be as passive as we are when it comes to affecting change. So when we look at the last few years, right, you're talking Ferguson, you're talking Trayvon Martin in Florida. Most recently, you're talking the NFL and the players kneeling to bring attention to the fact that so many young black boys have been and continue to be killed by police across the country for no good reason. And instead of eliciting support from the general population, it's caused consternation and issues which are unfounded. I think there's a real issue there. And I think it's important that our society, everyone, right, the progressive liberals, look at themselves in the mirror and ask important questions. What would I do if those were my children? And am I currently doing those things? If the answer to the first question is a whole lot more, and the answer to the second question is I'm doing very little, then there's probably some changes that need to be made in order for your soul to rest easily, right? So that's part one, and I think it's important as we think about race ahead of Martin Luther King Day, and so that we're not just paying lip service, but that we're treating it with the attention that it deserves. The second group that I'd like to address are people who are suffering in a consistent position of subservience, who feel that there is nothing good that can come out of this lifetime because they're always a step behind the rest, right? And so I want to share with you some of the tools that I use in order to thrive and feel good about myself every single day, right? The first thing is, those who perpetuate racist thought and belief, they're the ones with the problem, right? So when I encounter that on a regular basis, if I feel compelled to assist that person with their thought process, then I will do so. But the key is to understand that it's not my problem, it's their problem. And that goes a long way. The second bit actually goes back to a story I remember in business school. I was with a buddy, and we were in a bar. He was drinking beer, I was not. And he asked me, hey, Jacques-Philippe, I often see that you're not drinking and everyone else is. Don't you feel left out? What's that about? Tell me more. And I told him, look, Aaron, look around. Look at me. Look around. Look at me. It's not the beer that's going to make me stand out, right? So what I've done is I've twisted the position of difference and diversity and use it as an opportunity for self-empowerment. Since I'm seen as different everywhere anyway, I'm going to do the things that make me feel comfortable and make me feel whole and complete all the time. And what that does is it allows me to walk from a place of strength at all times and in a position of power, right? Because I'm always being myself and I become unshakable. And I implore you to do the same. The third bit I borrowed from my father. He always said, at the end of the day, it's the challenges that make life beautiful. It's the challenges that give us the opportunity to create things that are unique and different and really enjoy our lives. So in a sense, dealing with issues that relate to race and class and position give us an opportunity to continuously improve ourselves and become better, right? If we look in history and we look at the people that have truly effected change, that we look at as legends that we want to emulate, very few had easy lives. They had challenges that they faced, and they took them on, head first, and did what needed to be done. And oftentimes they didn't even realize that it was those challenges, right? What do they say? It's in fire that steel is forged, right? It doesn't happen in a fairy tale. And so those 3 points, I implore people who are dealing with these challenges to take in and to own if you're not already doing it, and let me know how that goes for you. I know I put quite a bit out there. It's a little bit different in terms of the content with respect to some of my previous posts, but I'd love to hear feedback, right? This exercise of sharing information on issues of consequence is not meant to make people feel good. It's meant to push conversations a little bit further than they've been pushed in recent history so that we can continue to evolve as a people. So I'm looking forward to hearing from you. What do you think? What are some of the things that we can do to move things along in a reasonable way with respect to the issue of race? Please subscribe to my page, like, share, comment, and I look forward to hearing from you. Take care.